Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I'm going to be introducing to you guys one of the most powerful ways in which a developer can deploy a React application. And by the thumbnail of this video, you might already know that this video will cover the topic of containerizing React applications inside of Docker. In the end of the video, I'm also going to be showing you guys how to deploy a containerized application into a hosting platform and also explain the benefits and negatives of doing deployment like this. So with that in mind, before we get into the video, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe, I would massively appreciate it because it would help push my videos to more people. And if you're enjoying the content, this is like a really easy and small way in which you can actually support my channel. So I would really appreciate if you could do so. So with that in mind, let's get into the video. Okay everyone, so first and foremost, I want to explain to you guys why exactly would you need to use Docker with a React app. So what exactly is Docker? Well, one of the best analogies I've ever heard for it is that it is just like any shipping container that you find around the world, but for software. Just like how shipping containers can hold any kind of item you want, Docker containers can hold any part of your software and deliver it to wherever you deployed the application. So that means that inside of a Docker container, you can put every part of your application, including the code, the environment variables, the dependencies, everything inside of the container. And the best part, which actually makes the entire difference, is the fact that no matter where you deploy this Docker container, it ensures that your application will run the same way everywhere. So you won't run into the problem that a lot of developers run into, which is they say that the app works in their computer, but it doesn't work somewhere else. Because with Docker containers, if it works in the container and you deploy the container, it will work everywhere, making it extremely easy for you to produce, develop, and share your application. This also means that if you want to change deployment platforms and cloud platforms that you put your application, it's very simple because all you have to do is set up your app to work with Docker and then deploy your Docker app to whatever hosting platform you want, which differs from if you were to do it without Docker, because a lot of hosting platforms will require you to do manual labor in your code in order to adapt to their platform. So it just makes everything from the process of developing to production very simple. Now, another concept that is important for you to understand before we get into the actual deployment and creating the Docker files is the idea of a Docker image. So similar to a Docker container, an image is basically a blueprint for your application. It contains everything detailing how your application or your software runs. And if we were to compare an image to a container, is that when you build the image, the actual project is placed in a container. So an image is just the image that you build out of your software and you put it in a container and then you deploy that container. You serve that container. So in its essence, the image is just a blueprint for your app and the container is the live app that you deploy. So now, how exactly are we going to containerize a React app and actually deploy it? Well, first of all, I need you guys to install a thing, which is Docker. I need you to install it. There is an installer and an actual Docker desktop. It's not required for you to use the Docker desktop. You can have the Docker environment in your computer without having the desktop application, but I do think it is valuable for you guys to have that as well. So I'm gonna open up over here in my screen so you guys can see. So this is how the app works, right? It contains a part over here where you can see all your containers that are running, all your images, everything that you might want inside of your project, your dev environments, everything. And you can create everything directly from here. However, we're going to be using the CLI to do everything because what we're going to be doing is containerizing an already existing React application that I have. So this should come after you finish your application or even before. You choose when you want to stabilize this, but I have an app here that is already done and I'm going to containerize this application. As you can see, this is a very simple app. I'm actually going to run it so you guys can actually see it running. It's part of a tutorial that I made in the past where I showed you guys how to build this. But as you can see over here, this is the app. It's a very simple application where you can log in. I already have login information set up, but you can see a list of the most current movies and you can rate them, and it actually connects with the correct API. So it will show everything perfectly and everything works, right? This is an app that I built before. Now you can see it's running on my local host 3000. This app is actually built using Vite. So it works with any kind of React app, but just keep in mind that some of the things might be specific for Vite, and I'll explain to you guys when they are. So first things first, we want to create what is known as the Docker file. Now this file is a file that will be used by us to write instructions for Docker to generate our image. It will explain what kind of commands it needs to run in order to produce our project, and where our project is being served, and what are the files that we want to access. So the way we do this is, at the root of my project, I want to create a file called the Docker file. Also make sure you have your first D capitalized, and then press enter. Now I do have the Docker extension installed in my VS Code, so everything here should work accordingly to my code editor, so I recommend installing it as well. Now, since a React app actually runs in a server, it's a front end, but it runs in a server, specifically in a Node server, we need to start by saying which version of Node we're building this image based on. So specifically, I'm using Node version 20. So in order to say that our container will run on this version, I'm gonna come over here and write from, and then specify what I'm running, which is Node, and then specify the version, and I'll put all pine, which is required as well. Now what we want to do is we want to create a working directory, a directory where all of our app and all of the commands will be executed inside. I personally will use one that isn't present already in the application, and it will be generated when we build our image. So I'm going to call it the app directory, and the way I'll create it is by saying work dir, and then putting /app, just like this. Then I want to copy the list of dependencies that I want to install in my app inside of this working directory. Now, every command we execute now and everything we copy inside after this will be put inside of this directory. So we don't have to specify anything else. So what I want to say is I want to copy the contents. Of the package.json file inside of my local computer, this one over here, by saying copy package.json. And when you say copy package.json, you specify where you want to put it. Now, you need to distinguish. There's two different places. There is our container that isn't being run right now inside our local machine, and there's the directories from our local machine. Now, the app exists in our container, not inside of our local machine. So when I say I want to copy, I wrote this wrong. When I want to copy the package.json, I also need to specify right over here where I want to put it. And I actually want to put it outside of inside our app directory, right? Which is already where we are, because I said work dir app, and we just put a dot to represent that. Then we want to install all the dependencies inside of the package.json inside of our container, right? So I'm gonna run the command run yarn install. Now, if you're using npm, the command will probably be something like npm install or whatever, depending on what kind of package manager you're using. I'm using yarn. So to install dependencies from a package.json, this is the command that we need. And we're just telling our container, to our image, to run this. Then what we want is to copy the entire project inside from our local machine, which we represent by a dot, into our container, which we again represent by a dot. So now we put everything there. We installed all the dependencies. So now how do we tell Docker to run this application? Well, we need to first tell what is the port that we need to expose our container. So if I look over here into my project, this is a Vite project, like I said, and inside my Vite config, I actually specify that I want everything to run on a port 3000. If you're running a Create React app, it's probably port 3000 as well. You should check depending on what you're running, but in my case, it's 3000. So I'll come over here and I'll say expose and then the port, which is 3000. Now this is pretty much almost done. We only have one more command to add. And this one is to tell Docker how to run our application. We exposed the port, but we need to tell it how to run. And this depends on your package.json. If you can see mine, I run actually with the preview command, but most people will just be yarn start or whatever command you have to run your app. In my case, like I said, it will be yarn preview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to run the command, and then it requires a list, and you put the commands that are going to be executed as in order inside the list. So I'm going to say yarn on the first item, and the second one will be preview, just like this. And this is how I say that it wants. And this is pretty much it for the Docker file. Now, one thing we also need to create is a Docker ignore. The reason for that is similar to a git ignore. We don't want to actually keep the node modules file inside our Docker container. So I'm just going to put here node modules, and it should be working. And now that we're done with the actual code part of this, we have to build this image. So how exactly are we going to build the image? So I'm going to open up my terminal over here, and I'm going to close that, and I'm going to run the following command. I'm going to say docker build, then a dot, then -t, and then I need to put a name for our image. Not only that, but we also need to put a version for it. So I'm going to say movie tutorial, because that's the kind of website that I made. It's a movie website, but it's also a tutorial that I made for you guys. And then I'm going to put a colon and the version of this project. So it's going to be version 1.0, just like that. I'm going to press enter, and you should see that it is building the image. Now, how do you confirm that it built the image? Well, you can click on this, and actually it didn't even open, but you can actually check in your Docker desktop. You should see this is now here. So now that we're done writing the code portion of our project, I'm gonna show you guys how to actually build the Docker image. It's really simple. All you do is you write docker build, and then a dot, and then a -t, and then you put a name for your image. So I'm gonna call it movie website tut for tutorial, and you need to put a version here. In this case, it will be version 1.0. Then I'm gonna press enter, and it's going to build it. As you can see, it was pretty fast. It has all of our commands over here, and we can check to see if it's actually working by going to the Docker desktop and going to the image tab. And as you can see, it shows over here. It wasn't actually created 4 days ago. This is definitely a mistake. I seriously don't understand why it says that. Maybe because I did test this project specifically, and I created an image for it as well 4 days ago, but I did delete that image. So this is the new one that we just created, and we can actually test to see if how many images we have in our project right now by saying docker images and then pressing enter. It just auto-completed. Pressing enter, it should say what images you have. As you can see, I just have one, which is the one we just created. It also says the tag and a unique image ID, which is pretty cool. But not only that, it also says the size. This is the size of the image that you built, and this is what you're going to be putting inside of your container. Okay, so now that we have our image, how do I run my React application inside that image? Well, first of all, I'm going to stop running my other React app, which I'm running on my local host normally, and let's run from Docker. The way we do it is we say docker run, then we put a -d, which means detach, which means we will be able to put other things in our terminal. It will give you an ID for what's running. You guys will see what I mean. And then -p, and then we put the port is going to be 3000, and then you specifically write the name of the image. So in our case is this one over here. And we also need to specify the version. So I'm going to say v1.0. Just like that. I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, we got this number, this value. But most importantly, if I open up this over here, it is still running. As you can see, localhost 3000. And you might be wondering what happened then. Well, nothing really happened other than the fact that we did stop this from running on our normal localhost, and this is actually running detached from the Docker image. So Nothing is being served right now, but it does actually run. As you can see, this is the whole project that I just created. Now, what exactly is this ID over here? Well, this ID is the ID of the container that we just ran. So like I said, the image explains what the project is. The container is the live version running of the project. So if I want to see over here, we can go to Docker PS. This should show all the containers that are actually running. And as you can see, we only have one. Which was started running and it's up about a minute ago, and we can use this specific ID to identify that. We can also see on our Docker desktop, if I go to containers, this should be over here, right? And yeah, we can see it started 1 minute ago and the port is 3000, which is pretty cool. A lot of cool things happening at once, a lot of information, right? We can even see CPU percentage, which is really cool. Now, if we wanted to stop this, I would say Docker stop and then the ID. Just like this, and you'll see that if I go over here and I refresh this, it won't work anymore because the container stopped running. So now we have successfully containerized a React application. And what does that mean? It means that, like I said in the beginning of the video, we can actually deploy this app into any cloud hosting provider solution, whatever you want to deploy your app. And if they support Docker, it's going to be very easy, which by the way, most of them do. In our case, I'm going to show you guys how to deploy it in the sponsor of today's video, Hostinger. So for those who don't know, Hostinger is a really close friend of the channel. They've worked with us a bunch of times, and I've basically just deployed my applications in Hostinger ever since the first time I worked with them. Like I've said multiple times, it is the cloud provider that I support and I recommend because of the variety of different features that they have. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the VPS hosting plans that they have, because this is where we're going to be deploying our Docker app. So as you can see, they have a lot of different plans that you might want to use. More specifically, I will be using the most popular one, which is the KVM2 plan, which is only $7 a month, and they actually have a good amount of discounts. And honestly, for the price to quality ratio, this is amazing. Some of the features that they have, such as the amount of cores, the amount of RAM, the bandwidth, a dedicated IP address, and a dedicated malware scanner, which scans all of your files and detects for any malicious content. This is a really good price. Hostinger also uses powerful hardware like the NVMe SSD storage and AMD EPYC processors for a very fast and responsive website performance. Not to mention that I believe they do ensure separate resources for each VPS. So like even in shared hosting plans, you're able to get like really high performance. I've personally ensured that the projects I've deployed into Hostinger are running up to scale. And honestly, with my time deploying with them, I haven't found any negative aspects to it. And if you're ever worried about scaling, I think this is a great solution for you as well, because the VPSs that they have here, they offer really good scalable plans where you only pay more as your website grows, right? So you're not actually stuck not being able to scale your servers because you chose a different plan. They actually handle all of that for you. So what I would recommend in this case is we need to get one of the plans. So I'm going to get this one over here, the KVM2. I'm going to click Add to Cart. Then you have to choose the period that you want. So technically I want for 24 months because it is the best value for your money. You're getting 24 months of VPS hosting, but you're paying way less, almost less than half of what you would if you paid monthly. So I would recommend getting this one. Then you need to create your account or log in. I already have an account, and I've already actually bought this plan for this video, so I didn't have to put all of this, but I'm just going to show you guys the process. You log in and then you choose your payment provider. They accept basically every kind of payment provider, PayPal, Google Pay, Alipay, and even CoinGate. Then you put over here all your information. I'm not going to click on those inputs so you guys don't see. But one cool thing is because we're choosing this plan, we get a massive discount. It becomes, we save $264. But not only that, you guys also have a coupon code. Using this limited deal, you can put over here the code PedroTech, and you can see that this saves us a lot of money. As you can see, it decreased by like $16, which is a pretty good price. And it would actually, if you guys use this code, it obviously helps support my channel. So if you are gonna purchase this anyway, you should use it. And by the way, it's a limited deal, so I would recommend getting it as soon as you can. And to end this all, you just click Submit Secure Payment. When you create your account and you buy your plan, you'll be actually transferred to the H panel where you're able to check your hosting plans. Okay, so when you enter the hpanel.hostinger.com URL, this is where you can see all your hosting services. You go to the VPS tab over here. Then you'll see probably just one of them. I have 3, but this is the one that I'm going to set up. The other ones are previous ones that I've had in the past. This one over here, you can see it shows exactly when it expires, and you technically don't have an IP address to SSH into, but we're gonna set all of that up. So I'm gonna click on Setup right over here, and we'll see there is a beautiful guide for us. We'll click Start Now, then we'll choose the location for our VPS. Like they said, you need to choose a server location that is closest to you or the audience that is going to be using your website to optimize performance. So I am in North America. You guys might know I'm in Canada. So the closest might be Phoenix, just like this. Then I'm going to click Continue. And next, you will be prompted with this page over here, which is going to ask you to select your OS template. There's a bunch of options, as you can see. I'll just scroll through a couple of them. But what we want is the Docker template, this one over here. Then I'm going to click on Select. And it's going to say we need to install a couple of things. The Monarchs is the malware scanner that I actually mentioned before. I'm going to click Continue. And now it's almost pretty much done. We now get our VPS hostname and an option to add an SSH key and also to create a root password. I'm gonna add an SSH key because by doing that, we can actually ensure security for our project for accessing this. So I'm gonna click on Add SSH key. It will give us some instructions that I'm gonna run right now. So I opened up a terminal over here. We need to generate the SSH key. So I'm going to copy this, open the terminal again, and I'm going to replace this with, actually I'll make this bigger for you guys. I'll replace this with my actual email. This will be my business email. Please don't email me here or spam me here, but I'm going to click enter. It's going to ask us where we want to put this SSH key. I choose the default one, press enter. It's gonna ask us for a passphrase. So I'm gonna add my passphrase over here. I'm typing it, but on the terminal it won't show. So I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna ask for it again. I enter it again. And as you can see, this beautiful image is the one that shows when you generate an SSH key, at least on Mac. Now, if I wanna see the actual SSH key content, which is what we're gonna be putting inside of Hostinger, I need to navigate to the .ssh directory, just like it says here. And then I need to open the pub file. We can see that there is a file over here. Oh, I should have done this. So there is a file over here. It is this one over here. And to open it, we can do it in a bunch of different ways. I like to actually just display what is in this file by writing cat. Cat will basically just print out whatever is in this file, specifically my SSH key, as you can see over here. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to come over here and then just paste it. I'm going to call this VPS key. I don't know. And then save. Now we need to put a root password. I'm going to write mine over here and it's going to ask for a bunch of stuff. So I'm actually going to write my actual password and then click save and continue. Nice. Now save this, and they give us another option just to finalize everything, or just click on finish setup, which is what we're gonna do because everything seems to be working perfectly. Now we need to wait for the process of setting up our VPS because obviously they need to deploy it. It will take around 5 minutes, like they say, but I'll be back right when it's over. Now, as you can see, it is done and deployed. So we can actually go to the dashboard and you can see the status of it is running. Now we can see also we can see that the status of it is running. Now we can also see the IP address, which is extremely important because it's how we're going to SSH into this VPS. So in order to make this work, we're going to copy this, go into our Visual Studio Code. I'm going to close this a bit, try to make it not cramped. And I'm going to run SSH root and then and put the IP address. So I'm going to press enter, and it says that it can't be established. The key is not known by other names. Are you sure you want to continue? I'm going to press enter. I'm going to say yes, just like this. And it said that it was permanently added to the list of known hosts. Then I need to put the passphrase for the key. So this isn't the password you put for Hostinger. This is the password you put for your SSH key. So for me, they are different. I'm going to press enter, and hopefully, as you can see, we have successfully SSH'd into our server. As you can see, now our terminal has the name over here. Now, since we are using the Docker template from Hostinger, they actually should have already installed Docker. So we can actually check to see if Docker is installed here by saying Docker version. And as you can see, it has actually installed it. Now to test to see if Docker is actually running here, we can test out a test container, such as the hello world container that I believe they have here. We can press enter, and as you can see, it actually pulled the kind of mock container that Docker has, and it gave us a hello from Docker, which demonstrates that running Docker containers is working here. Quick break. As you might notice, it's a different day. My camera died and while I was recording, and I had to do some stuff after that. So I'm back here, and we're gonna start right where we stopped. We had just loaded the hello world image, and now there's a couple more steps that we need to take, but they're very self-explanatory. We need to actually get all of our project from our local machine into the remote server. The reason for that, we can do it in a bunch of different ways. We could actually build an image and just transfer the image. But I want to bring the whole project, because then I can develop the project here if I wanted to. And also because the architecture of the project might be a little bit different. In our case over here, I know for a fact that I work with ARM64, and the machine that we SSH'd into is from AMD 64. So we do need to transfer the whole thing. The way we're going to transfer those files from a local computer to the remote one is actually pretty simple. We're going to go to where our project exists, which is inside of this movies tut directory I have over here. It has our Docker ignore, our Docker file, everything. And I want to transfer all of this to the remote by using SCP. Now to use SCP, what I want to do is I want to get the path to where this folder exists. I personally know the path, so I'm just going to paste it over here, but it's basically, it will look something like the following. So as you can see over here, it goes to the root of your application. Mine is inside of documents, inside of YouTube projects, inside of movies too, which is the name of the project. And we're gonna copy all the documents inside of here and put them inside of another folder that we're going to create over here. If I ls this, you see I basically just have this, which came with the server, but I want to create a folder inside of here and call it movies tut as well, whatever. Now we're going to go inside of it. So cd movies tut, and you see there's nothing inside. Now over here, I want to put all of this inside of this directory. So how I do this is I put a space, I say root, which is my username for SSHing. I'm going to put @, and then I'll put the same command we used, the same IP address we used for SSHing into the server. So we come over here, we put this, and then over here, we just have to put the path inside of the server to where we want to put our files. So in our case, we're going to put the shortcut over here, and then movies tut, just like this, because it's also called the same thing. Now we're going to press enter, and it's going to ask us for a passkey for our SSH key. So I'll put it over here, and it's going to start transferring or not. It says it's not a regular file. Oh, I just noticed that since we're uploading multiple files, we need to put the recursive tag. So I'll say R over here and then press enter, put the pass key again, and hopefully it will start transferring everything, as you can see. It might take a bit, so I'm gonna come back when it's done, but I'll let you guys know. Okay, I transferred all my files, as you can see over here. It actually took a good amount of time, but now I can check to see I'm inside of movies tut, so I'll put ls. You see now we have a folder called movies tut again, so let's go inside of that one. And we should see our project actually over here. Yeah, perfect. Now I could build the Docker image based on this. However, like I said, we're using different architectures, so I did need to convert this. And the way I'm going to convert it, so we need to convert it, make some changes to our Docker file. Now I can directly edit the files inside of my server by just saying something like code and then putting the name of the file I want to edit, like Docker file. And you'll see that, it says you can't, the command is not found. Probably it's not installed inside of my server. I can install it by using snap, as you can see. But to be honest, I can actually use nano. I'll just say nano Docker file. Nano, for those who don't know, oh, it may also not be installed. Oh, it is. But yeah, I can edit text files by just running nano, and as you can see, this is the Docker file that we created. Now the changes you're going to make are going to depend on whether you're using a base image that allows you to have multi types of architecture. In our case over here, we're using Node, and Node actually allows that, and we just have to specify what kind of platform we're using. So technically, I don't need to make any changes, but I'm showing you guys this just in case you need to. If you have any doubts, by the way, leave in the comments in the description and I'll help you guys. But in our case over here, all we have to do now is I can exit my nano file by pressing Control X. And then over here, I'll just build my image by using BuildX, which is a plugin that comes with Docker, the upper versions of Docker. And I'll say Docker build, and then I can specify the platform we're using to be Linux, and then I can say AMD 64, and I'll put -t and specify the name of my, like the tag and the description of my image. So I'm gonna call it movie website v1.0, just like we did in the beginning of the video. And then we need to specify what are we going to be building this image based on, which I'll put a dot because it is the current directory. I'll press enter, and as you can see, it is building the image for us, and it should specify everything. I'll be back in a second when it's done building, just to continue with you guys. Okay, as you can see, the image was built, and we can check to see if this image is actually here by running Docker images. You can see now we have the movie website over here, and it was built 51 seconds ago, and this is the size, which is pretty good. And now all we have to do is actually run this. So how do we run this? I'll say Docker run, then I'll put movie website, and I'll say v1.0. Now, if everything is working and I press enter, we should have actually created our container. You can see it is running. It says that it is running on localhost 3000, but obviously that's not how it works because this is on our actual virtual private server. So, okay, now that it has created the Docker image, let's check to see if it exists. We'll put Docker images, and as you can see, it does exist. It was created 5 minutes ago, as you can see, and it already includes the repository name and the tag that we added. So now what we have to do is we have to run this Docker image and create the container, and also tell Docker to expose it to the port that we specifically put in our Docker file. So what I want to do is I'm going to run Docker run, then I'll put -d -d because this will mean that it's detached. We don't have to, we can use the terminal after this command is run, and then we'll put the -p for the port, and we'll put the port that we determined, which would be 3000. Then we put the container name. The container name is going to be movie website and then v1.0. Just like this. We'll press enter, and if it works, if our container was created, we should see our ID. Now, how do we test this? Well, we have successfully done exactly what we did in our computer, right? We created an image, we ran that image to create the container, and now the container is running. Remember when we had this in our local machine, I could just come here and say localhost 3000 and I would access the website. Well, the same thing is happening, but on a virtual private server, a VPS deployed to Hostinger. So all I need to do is access that specific public IP address and with the port 3000. So I just need to come over here and access this, because this is our actual public IP address, as you can see, and this is the port that we're exposing our project. So if you press enter, you should see the website is now public, and you can access this if you want to as well. And it means it's successfully running. Like I said, everything is working, and we expose the website to the correct link. Now, obviously, if you're going to deploy this website, I would recommend getting a domain, and Hostinger can help you out with that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The best thing about this is, like I said, you can actually continue developing here and just running the container, making the changes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know this was a little bit of a long video, but I think this is a very important topic. And if you've never learned it, I think this video is going to get you pretty well advanced in it. And I think it's a good use of your time to learn this as early as possible, because it will help you with future development. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you also Hostinger for sponsoring this video. Go check them out. Please use my link. It will help me massively, and they definitely have a great service, and they do have a great service. So I highly recommend them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.